just been spending a lot of time there reading up on Hinduism, and as part of a kind of an ongoing thing to try and see if we can draw parallels with European paganism and heathenism or whatever, European indigenous spirituality, just looking at the common Indo-European roots and seeing if there's something there for us. And something came into my mind that I just, I kind of always knew it, but I never really expressed it before, is that now Wicca is basically Judaism. It venerates Jewish magical ideas, Hebrew gods, Hebrew angels, and so on. And I've nothing against. I know lots of very nice people who are into Wicca. Very nice, lots of people who enjoy Wicca. I have nothing against it. There's lots of good stuff in it too, but ultimately it's not paganism. When the English witchcraft, well, the final end of the English witchcraft laws were abolished in the early 50s, and the laws themselves are being struck off the books, this guy Gardner, a British civil servant, appears out of the blue, claims he saw a bunch of maidens dancing in the New Forest, meets up with Crowley and invents this thing called Wicca, claiming it's the ancient European spiritual tradition. Now, why would women who were dancing or doing pagan rituals in the New Forest be venerating Jewish gods? So it seems to me that when the chance of a real pagan revival came along, and Europeans or British people or whatever could venerate their own European gods, that they gave them Christianity or Judaism, or the same thing, once more again through the back door of Wicca. And I don't like this. I'm not happy about this. Why did Gardner not create a religion based on venerating Wotan, Loki, or all the Celtic gods, which would have been much more appropriate? Wicca is not paganism. It may introduce people to paganism, but absolutely is not paganism. It's Jewish. Now, again, if that's what you're into, good luck to you. That's your business. Nothing to do with me. It's time, and I think it's kind of happening on an organic way. You look around at channels like Survive the Jive and Thulean Perspective and other channels, you can kind of see that an indigenous European revival, a proper one in terms of paganism, is taking place on a kind of an organic level. Is it time, I wonder, for some kind of, it's very difficult to put the idea out there of one specific text, because that might create a religious cult or something, but maybe it's time to start doing something like finding, say, looking at Loki and Lu and applying it to the venerations, the oldest ones from, say, the Puranic gods before the Brahmins of India, to see if we can find a common denominator and say this is common to Lu, Loki, Indra, Dunar and Ukko, and then find that common denominator and apply that as the symbol and the nature of the veneration of that particular deity. So therefore we have the hammer, which is quite common in Ireland. Lu was the spear, but it can be still applied. Lu was also the great smith, the man of all, the god of all abilities and skills and talents. He was a druid, a wizard, a smith, the lot. We really should be doing this. I'm surprised it never happened before. A lot of it has to do with the success of Wicca. Wicca being predominantly popular among women, not surprisingly, because it takes a lot of the patriarchal control out of Christianity and gives them back a kind of a sense of freedom in terms of spiritual involvement in their own lives. But it really should have been European paganism they were doing. Should have been really European paganism and not Jewish paganism. It wasn't even Jewish paganism, Judaism, sold off as Wicca. I think it's time that we started to really buckle down. Maybe we need some kind of a council or some kind of a, well, I know it's ironic, but it's a good way. You always use what they have against them. A Council of Nicaea for pagans. So pagans from all over Europe with these ideas can meet and maybe finalize finally a a standard text of veneration, archetypes and symbolism of European spirituality, using the framework, or should we say as the sort of Rosetta, not the Rosetta, yeah, the Rosetta Stone of the Hindu, the early Hindus, before the great spiritual changes that took place within Hinduism in the 4th and 5th century AD, but back down to closer to the Puranic aspects of Hinduism, incorporating those archetypes as the basis of developing their symbolism and their deified nature towards the Indo-European, Northern European, Western European gods, and that can be localized. So you could have, say, the symbols within say Hinduism in terms of religious is very similar to the pagan Greek. So we have this sort of Hellenic idea of ringing the bell to focus one inside, therefore to sort of like announce the summoning of the god through a candle or a flame. These are central to Hindu and Vedic rites. So it's all there. It just needs to be more localized and more European in focus. So we haven't lost, the Christians didn't destroy everything with the Eddas. They didn't destroy everything with the Irish annals. We have enough. And just like in the Vedic tradition, you have, mythological sort of human figures who end up developing supernatural traits. So you have Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He's almost venerated. Now we can do that too. Like we could venerate Queen Maeve. We could have also thinking about, I want to really get this conversation going. I think things even like the tarot, because of its unknown origin and also the proliferation of Indo-European archetypes within the spread of the major arcana, also lends itself to something of a Rosetta Stone or an encryption process in order to build a new paganism, a proper paganism that's not rooted in Gerald Gardner's Jewish Wicca. And move from that point on, because Odin appears in it, Hecate appears in it as the high priestess, and so on. And Odin probably appears twice as the hermit and as the hanged man. So this is definitely a project for the future, but not just for me, for all of us. Maybe we do need, ironically, and also in a sense with two fingers too, the Council of Nicaea for pagans. Maybe it's time that's coming on the horizon for that. In the meantime, by the next couple of weeks, my new book, Sorcery, the Invocation of Strangeness, which will be talking about a lot of the things I'm talking about here right now, in a couple of weeks will be out, and we can look at new other ideas and so forth. Like for instance, the neo-pagans that took root in Cornwall in the 60s and the 50s and 60s, some of them believed, and it's an amazing idea, that the Archangel Michael may actually be Odin. And this is why he was so central to Wicca and the veneration within these kind of golden dawns. They couldn't give us back, they would not give us back our Odin or Wotan, but they gave us back a Hebrew angel. But it still may be according to these neo-pagans, it still may be Odin. We're just naming him incorrectly and we're summoning him. But the nature of the Archangel Michael seems to be quite less fearsome and more benign and benevolent and even friendly that you get in the Nordic gods. We still have Odin, we're probably calling him by the wrong name because of things like Wicca and the Golden Dawn. Let's do this, okay?